We're in Charleston, South Carolina, well, just to the north of Charleston over the bridge at the USS Yorktown. This ship was commissioned during World War II. It's seen its time in the Pacific Theater. Then it was retrofitted for the Vietnam War and became an attack carrier and also an anti-submarine carrier. This thing is 888 feet long, and it would have a capacity for a crew of about 3,400 people. It's a massive ship. It's a beautiful ship. Let's go on board. We're in the upper deck of the USS Yorktown. Just to give you a little bit of a feel for the size of this thing, this is half of the ship. As you look down through here, and you can see the planes stored in here and the guns. This is pretty big, pretty impressive. We're in an F-9F fighter jet. This thing had 4 20mm cannons, and it would carry 2 100-pound bombs. Not only do you get a tour of the submarine and the USS Yorktown, you also have the Naval Museum. You can spend the entire day here. Well, this is where it all took place. This is where the ship was navigated from. It's the, of course, here at the helm up on the top bridge. Pretty impressive. Like I said, once again, I can't imagine being in wartime in here and what the men must have went through. I'm on the flight deck of the USS Yorktown here, 888 feet long. Really, it sounds like a lot, but when you look at the size of these jets and you're picturing 20 to 30 foot seas in the Pacific, of course they had prop planes at that time, but landing on this took some skill. Beautiful setting here. If you're in Charleston, you got the Ravenel Bridge behind. You can look over to Old Charleston, and also around back you can see Fort Sumter, where of course you all know what happened at Fort Sumter. Many people don't know this. This was the Grillinator 2000. You just take and put your hot dogs on a stick and stick it right in front of here. A lot of people thought this was a jet, but it was actually a really high-tech, high-energy, extreme heat grill. It char grill your steaks or your hamburgers or your hot dogs. Another cool thing, you don't only get to go onto an aircraft carrier here, it's also a submarine. That's really cool because a lot of people have never been on a submarine. So we're going to check that out a little bit too. Let's go. Can you imagine being in one of these during wartime? Submerged for days on end, depth charges. This would be something else to be involved in. Look at the size of these torpedoes. If you were claustrophobic, you would not want to be on here. Oh, check this out. The kitchen galley. Here is a control room, and can you imagine having 10 to 12 men in here at once? They'd have to work like a precision machine to not bump into each other or anything else. And you'd have to get along pretty well too in these cramped quarters. Okay, we're in the engine room now. And here's one of the engines. They called it Speedy Gonzales, and this one was Roadrunner. You can imagine the noise in here when this thing was going at full steam ahead, plus the depth charges. Don't forget the depth charges. We're in engine room number 2. And one of the things that's really interesting about a submarine and the engineering, in an engineering capacity, is there's not one square inch that's wasted. The way it's engineered, the way it's put together, every little bit is utilized, every little bit of space, and it has to be, because, well, it's a submarine. Not only do you have all this equipment inside of a submarine, you got to remember they have to carry parts too to repair this equipment, these engines and all these components, because there's not a Napa submarine store out in the middle of the Atlantic or the Pacific. If you have a shop in the back of your house, or you're a woodworker or a metal worker, you can really appreciate the size of this mechanic's shop. There's a metal lathe in here, a milling machine, And so if something needed to be made and you're out in the middle of the sea, this is where it happened. Once again, very efficient. Makes me feel fortunate to have the huge shop that I have. We're in the back torpedo room where they stored extra torpedoes and plus launch tubes out the back. You know, when I'm in here, I don't think a lot of people understand what it actually took to win World War II. It was touch and go. That was not an easy war. We were against a very formidable opponent. They always say that necessity is the mother of all invention, and in war times that is extremely true. With the atomic bomb, with feats of engineering just like this submarine here or the aircraft carrier, it tends to push us to the limits because the option is obliteration or death. So it tends to bring out the genius quickly. I just finished the tour of the USS Yorktown and the submarine. Could literally spend all day here, but we've got so much to do in Charleston. There's so many things to do here. This is a great place to come. Make sure you check it out at Patriots Point.